Welcome to this session of the CT 13.5 release testing focus area, or also known as the QA testing guide webinar. My name is Herng. I am a QA analyst. I located in the KL office. So in this round, we will have two person presenting in the webinar. So myself and my colleague, Bryan.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Bryan. I'm a QA analyst based in the KL office as well. And we're going to be bringing you the QA testing focus areas in your 13.5 migration journey. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, you can either post it in the chat, or leave it to the end of the of this webinar, and you can ask during that session, the Q&A session. Okay, let's proceed. All right, so as a note, please always check with your developers if they've already done the migration changes on your manufacturer extensions before you start testing what is going to be presented in this webinar. Okay, so let's move on to the first one. So this is related to the Prof devs and Prof input setting attributes. So basically what has been changed is the interface changes, and also there are code refactoring done for code optimization. So it is important to make sure that the properties still work on for your manufacturer extensions. So what you are going to test for this is by using your extensions snapper. Ensure that the feature and values are still available. And it's not missing in the process. So there will still be applicable that like the materials, the features, and the 2D and 3D space. So also make sure that the animation and the quick properties is correctly sized and it can be moved around, docked, and hidden. Okay, so next one is regarding the price changes. So so developer has made some code refactoring to the classes in accordance. Oops, so sorry. I think you're not seeing the points.
So I'm seeing it now.
Okay. All right. So developers made some code refactoring to the classes in the core. That relates to the calculation modules. So with this, it is important to recheck the pricing for your manufacturer extension snappers. And try to follow the test instructions that we recommend below. So number one is by using your extension snapper, ensure that the pricing is correct and accurate. And it is the same as CET 13.0 and the bill of material. And also refer to pricing reference in your manufacturer price book or specification if there's any. And then number two, try to load or create a larger drawing than usual. And then invalidate the bill of material dialog by clicking the F5 to make a refresh. And make sure it still refreshes and it doesn't freeze in the process, and also causing CT to not respond. It is optional to check for the time taken to invalidate as well. To make sure it doesn't take too long for your bill of material to refresh and for the price and the other information in the page to show. Okay, so next one, I'll move on to the abstract office changes that has been made in in this round of migration. Yeah, so the first one is regarding the panel junction changes. So with the increase of the cases in having inline post junctions, also known as the S junctions for some cases. So and it has been difficult to implement junctions in customization with how the junction system figuring out what junctions to use. So to solve this, developer has brought in supports in using distance as part of the factors to determine which junctions to be used. Yeah, and developer also made some cleanups and also breaking things out into different methods. Yeah, when making this works. So in the video snippets here, you can see that depending on where you place your mouse, you can decide on whether to have a post in between two panels connected in a line or without a post. Yep. So basically that is what this changes is about. And if you were to try this out, and if your manufacturer extension adopted this way, so also to make sure that this changes does not affect your manufacturer extensions, yeah, try to follow the test instruction below. So the first one, using your manufacturer extensions panel system, try to connect two panels and create an inline junctions, and ensure the correct panel junction pose is generated in terms of the graphics and parts. And also try, while using the panels, try to connect to the other junction posts, like the L junctions, T junctions, X, V, or Y. Yeah, the terms might be different depending on each manufacturer's. Yeah, so to ensure that the correct panel junction posts are generated. Also checking in the BOM that the correct parts are showing as well. Right. So next changes is also related to abstract office, but it is more towards typical blocks, or we call it the components blocks. Yeah, so there have been cases where other connected snappers are being filtered out as well when using the component blocks. So when it should only exclude the panel frames and junctions in this case. So to fix this, developer create a new property for filtering out the symbols, and also the some classes were split out into separate files for ease of navigation when making changes. Yeah, so once again in this video snippets, you can see that this gives you an idea what is a component block is. So it basically hides the panel and the junctions and left out with only the other components connected to the panels, yeah, are left showing. So the panels and panel junctions are hidden in this case. So to ensure that this changes in core doesn't affect your manufacturer extensions, so we would like to recommend the following test instructions. So with your manufacturer's panel system extensions, create a typical workstations, and then select the workstations, right click and select create component blocks. Or you can also try to block it first and then go into the block dialog, click the button there that says to component block, yeah, to turn it into a component block. And make sure that there's no other components than the panel frames and junctions are being hidden by these actions after converting to the component blocks. So you can also try adding more symbols and the typical workstations before converting it to the component blocks. Yeah, also to ensure that only the panel frames and junctions are being hidden. Okay. All right, moving down Also still in abstract office changes, but this round it touches on the panel frames and work surfaces. So the panel frame insert animation G2, it's rewritten to fix some old issues while also trying to emulate the old animations. This is also to make sure that the implementation is more consistent with the old animations while also supporting G2 animations. So some changes to other small bugs and old behavior with the panel frames are also made, as this is needed to ensure that the whole thing works smoothly. So as for the work surface change, there's a minor change that was done to the material used for the remove support animation, and also developer added a new method in performing the undo. So as to make sure to ensure that the undo process is much more smoother and prevents mistakes. So one of the changes to the remove support animation is that you can see that in the left video, the color of the remove support animation is a darker red color, while the new one in CT 13.5, it is changed to a brighter, more vibrant red color. So to check this, using your panel products from your manufacturer extensions, make sure that the animation properties is working correctly when inserting panels to drawing, and try changing the options available in the animation properties. And also attach another panel or work surface to it, to ensure that the connection is correct, the correct graphics are generated, and it is expected. And also the parts, correct parts are generated as well, and the information showing in the BOM is correct. And next, you will want to try stretching the panels. Make sure that the width, depth, and height of the panel can be stretched with no issues. And also try stretching the panels with work surface attached. Make sure that the two will stretch together. So let's say when you stretch the width of the panel, the work surface follows along, with no issues. Then try using the remove a support animation. Verify that the color of the removal animation is correct and the removal of the work surface support is working. Lastly, you can try perform some undo process, along the way, and to the work surface while you are connecting it to the panels, and verify that these operations can be undo and no odd behaviors occurs along the way. So that's my part on the changes. So I will proceed to the new features that we have in 13.5 release. So the first one, we have templates. So in CT 13.5, we introduced templates. So now you can create a drawing and save it as a drawing templates. And this will allow customer to share CT drawing templates, especially with their dealership, and to implement company-wide drawing standard, if that's needed. So you can incorporate desirable reusable file, for example, article views, paper, title, blocks, custom categories, visibility settings, and etc. in your templates. So what templates can do is that it allows saving a CT drawing as a template, and you can choose to save templates while opening a new drawing or from a recent templates section. And you can also edit the templates and allow to override or save as new templates. And lastly, you can share templates with your subordinates and your dealers. So on the right hand side, this is a screenshot on what the settings, new tab that we add in the file under CT file. So we added a new tab called templates. So in this dialog window, you can browse your default templates or your available templates and also the info shown on each templates. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna give a little demo. Yeah, you can see my CET opens up. Yeah, so this is a template that I have just created. Yeah, so in under file templates, you can see that there are a few templates that has been created. So, oops. Yeah, so this one is being set as the file. Yeah, which is the one that you see in the drawing space. So if you click on the I button, the info, you can check that the description, the title, and other informations regarding this template. Yeah, and I have another template here. Yeah, if I click it, then it will opens up. Yeah, and also you can set the template as a default when you are clicking it as a new drawing. So when I click new drawing, yeah, it will load this template. So that is being set in your control panels. Yeah, you can have the settings to set which template do you want, yeah, on startup and as a new drawing. Okay, that is a quick demo on how template looks like. So if you would want to try out templates on a new drawing in CT, create a floor plan or layout that can be used as a template. Include your manufacturer extension symbol, elevation, legend, papers, yeah, in it if possible. And then click File, Save as Template, enter a name for it, and ensure that template is saved. And the file type for the template is .cmdrwt. Yeah. Now you can go to Files, Template, and select the Save template and click on Make Default. Yeah, this button here, Make Default, and it will turn your save template into a default template. And then close and relaunch CT again and make sure that the CT is started up with the saved template. Yeah. And alternatively, you can also go to Control Panel Templates to choose the default template that you want. Okay, so that is on templates. Next, move on to the next new feature, which is the extension startup. Yeah, so the extension startup is not really a new feature per se for CET. Yeah, it has been around for a few releases, but this is an extension to the existing delayed extension startup. Yeah, so what you can do is that what it does is that it snoozes your extensions until it is clicked on. Yeah, and with this feature in place, you can now have the flexibility to choose which extension you can force wake up or snooze on your CET startup. Basically, you are staggering the extensions load and wake up to achieve faster CET startup. Yeah. So what is new in this extension startup this round is a toolbox thumbnail and tooltip. Yeah, as shown in this screenshot here. So the toolbox thumbnail and tooltip would indicate, yeah, whether the extension is in the snoozing state. So users will now will be able to aware of the extension snoozing state. So as the arrow pointed out here, these are the extensions that are currently snoozing. And in the bracket, it shows that the startup time needed if you were to start up these extensions. And the second one is the extension startup tab is added in control panel. So a new control panel tab is added. So right now users would be able to configure the startup behavior where they would be able to select some extensions to always load on CT startup. The idea is for the extensions to be in snooze and let the users configure to in their liking instead of having the extensions to be always start up with CT. So a new tab added here, and then you have this new controls on the extensions. So I would do a quick demo as well. So in your control panel, a new tab is added called extension startup. So over here, you can have it shows a list of the extensions you have. What are the last use date, and if you can see it here, these are all unchecked, mean they are still snoozing, and the start time indicates how many seconds would be required for them to start up. So right now, with all this unchecked, my CT estimated startup time is around 31 seconds. So if I were to start up everything, I check all, since everything is less than a second, only figure office is around 1 second. So if I check all, it would take me about 34 seconds to start up CT. So that's the basic idea for this new feature. All right, back to the slides, the presentation. So with this new changes, we want to ensure that it does no unpleasant effect to the startup and experience in the CT after you have updated to 13.5. So do make sure that by using your manufacturer extensions, you could tick or untick the extension startup dialog, and make sure that in both options, the extensions can be woken up and can be worked on. And the startup time of CT and your extensions should not be slower than before. So alternatively, alternatively, you can check your manufacturer extension startup time by using QA2 startup time. And over there, it indicates how much time is taken for your extensions to start up. All right. So that ends my part of the presentation. So with this, I will pass it to Bryan. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Yuen. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Okay, are you seeing my slides here, the PowerPoint?
Yes, I see your presentation.
Okay. So I'll be beginning with the second half of the presentation. Okay. Okay, so the first one, in CT 13.5, developers made some changes to certain classes, which is part of code refactoring. Now, this was also done as part of the performance improvement efforts that the team have put in, because performance is something that we take into strict consideration for any implementations in CT. Now, this one, it kind of affects the part tagging in CT. Now, it's really important to make sure that part tagging still works on your end after you have migrated to CT 13.5. All right. By looking at the first test instruction, using your manufacturer extension, you try part tagging your product snappers through all methods. You can part tag through the rectangle, custom shape, selection, etc. Do check if your default Partex categories are still retained. Now, if your manufacturer extension has any manufacturer-specific Partex. Also, not to forget verifying if undo and redo works. And with that, you should not also forget testing visibility of the part taggings through different view modes, filters, view clips, and also the printouts. Then you can create a new drawing, repeat the test case 1 and 2 above, and switch between different drawings and check that if it still retains the application of Partex, right? And also make sure there's no performance hiccups when doing so. Everything should be fast and quick. Okay, there shouldn't be any slowdowns, and you should not experience any freeze. Okay, so this is Partex in Wo. Then moving on to the next one. In CT 30.5, we've upgraded the Red Engine version. Okay, so there's a revision to the Red Engine to support more features in the coming version of CET. So we've upgraded the Red Engine. It's an upgrade. And with this, it affects many areas related to graphical, mainly rendering, view clips. And it's very important to make sure that the performance of loading new and existing drawings, they are not slower than before. It should feel the same as CT 13.0, or otherwise it should be faster. In your manufacturer extension component tab, it's very important to try out elevation view. Right? So what you can see here in the 2D space, it should be as accurate. Okay. Try elevation view for different layouts of your manufactured products, verify in 2D space, and make sure it has nothing different. Okay, no anomalies. Now, going a mile further, you can verify the accuracy by using dimension tools. So the dimensions of the rendered output, it should be the same as the dimension of the actual product in 2D space. Then you can also try performing a quick render or a render in Photolab by using different presets or by using custom lighting as well. You verify the material and the color. It should be as accurate when compared to CT 13.0. There should not be any difference. Then in paper view, you can try creating a few papers because it affects renderings and view clips as well. So as you create, ensure that the 2D view clip coverage, it works and it clips correctly according to the area state. Now, on top of that, please also make sure that the 3D viewport also works correctly in both lock and unlock state. Now, moving on, we have some changes in the material handling abstract. Now, this is mainly for our customers from the material handling industry. And this will affect both pallet racking and conveyor extensions. Now, if your extension is based on the material handling abstract, or you come from the material handling industry, so I would highly recommend you to follow these test instructions, just to make sure everything still works. Now, these are some smoke test instructions for a very simple pallet racking or a conveyor extension, very simple test cases, smoke test instructions. Now, first, what you should do is to ensure that you're still able to insert different types of racking and conveyor layouts. And it's also very important to verify you're able to stretch all racking and conveyor points in terms of width, height, and depth. And check if the unit load editor works for you. Now, if your manufacturer extension has one, you can test this one. If your manufacturer extension doesn't have one, then you may skip this test case. Now, note that all of these test cases, they are very dependent on your manufacturer extension. It does not apply for some of it. And the next thing you should do is to check that the racking symbols, they are visible in Create PDF, Print Preview. Now, if your manufacturer extension has automatic papers, you can check that too as well. And if your manufacturer extension has elevation view, you can try to use that one to see if it works. Now, if your manufacturer extension doesn't have an elevation view too, you could use the elevation view from the symbol library extension. Now, aside from making sure your pad racking and conveyor works fine, coming to the bill of material part, you should always make sure that all of the part numbers are correct and make sure that the price they're still the same unless there are some changes from the manufacturer itself. Okay, now speaking of pricing, you should refer to your developer or your requirement specifications if there's any. And last but not least, please also verify by loading all the drawings to see if it still supports and it can be worked on. All right, so now we're moving on to the new features in CT 13.5. Now, the first one would be scheme safe. Now, in CT 13.5, there will be a different scheme naming suffix. So it'll be saved by a new naming convention, a new naming suffix. It goes by scheme name dot scheme group name dot extension name dot cm scheme. Because previously, you can only save by the scheme names dot cm scheme. Now, this is something that has not changed before. It is still the same cm scheme format. But what is changed is the this part of it. You have this different naming suffix. Now, here is one example that I've laid out. All right. Now, take for example, your scheme name is Panels Application 1, a custom schemes that you have created. And this comes from the scheme group name of Control Panels. And Control Panel comes from the CT extension name. For example, this is a manufacturer extension called Control Furnitures. So the final naming scheme would be Panels Application 1, which is your scheme name, dot scheme group name, Control Panels, dot your extension name, Control Furniture, dot cm scheme. Now, this really depends on how your schemes are configured. You might have a different scheme group name. You can check with your extension developer. Now, if you're wondering, it still supports the old scheme. If you load in the old schemes in CT 13.5, if you save it again, it will adopt the new scheme naming suffix. Then it should be something like this, depending on your scheme group name and your scheme name. Also, if you are saving it as, because there are two buttons, all right, you can save the scheme. That's a save button. And other than that, you can also save as. Now, if you're going to do a save as, it's going to be creating a new folder for you. Also follows the new naming suffix. Now, I put up a demo in the next slide. Then hopefully you get a better idea of it. Okay, so for this demo, I'm going to be using Fika extension. Now, it is set to save to default CT documents / schemes file path. Now, I have not changed this. This has always been the default file path that schemes will be saving to. And let us go through what's the name, group name, and the CT extension. All right, so by looking at these photos here, so the scheme name would be Fika tree. The scheme group name would be FAN. And this is for the CT extension name Fika. So if you put everything together in the new naming convention, the new naming suffix, it will come out as Fika tree .fan.fika.cm scheme. All right, so I have a video right here. So in this video, I'm going to be going to Scheme Explorer. So this is Scheme Explorer. I'm going to be selecting Fika schemes. I'm going to be creating a custom scheme called Fika tree. and try saving it as a file. And you'll see this new folder created here. Okay, so I'm going to be selecting the scheme group FAM. So this is a Figure extension. Okay, I've created a new scheme called Figure 3. Save as. And you can see how the folder has been created for you. For the folder, it is created by the suffix of scheme group dot extension name. And in there, you have this new naming suffix of the scheme that has been saved. Okay, so the next new scheme feature that we have, it is in regard to the scheme export. Now, if you're going to be batch exporting schemes, it'll now be batched as CM scheme zip format instead of CM schemes. All right. If you save a single scheme, it is CM scheme. But if you export a few schemes, it'd be saved as CM schemes. All right. So that's this extra S over here. So this is when you batch export more than one scheme together, it'd be saved as CM schemes. Now, this is how it's going to look like in 13.0. This is how it has been looking like in 13.0. All right, CM schemes. But in CT 13.5, it'd be changed to CM scheme zip. Now, the reason for that, we've received a lot of feedbacks that the old format of CM schemes, all right, this one, it caused some confusion with the single custom scheme, which is just lacking the alphabet of S over here. So it causes some confusion. So this is one of the highly requested feature. And now it's here. Now it still supports all exported schemes. Okay, it still has the same functionality when you load your old CM schemes into the new schemes in 13.5 and you export it again, it will be changed to the new format. So it's backward compatible, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, by looking at this photo right here, I'm in Schemes Explorer. I click on Export, you get this dialog over here. So these are the schemes that I'm going to be exporting, right? So this is from the extension of Pika and also vendor 1, vendor 2. So I click on Export, it's going to be saved as a single file, .cm scheme zip instead of CM schemes. Now, another new feature that we have, this is just a minor UI change. Now in Schemes Explorer, there's a new auto embed all toggle. Now just think of it like a centralized toggle. So imagine you have a lot of schemes here. It makes it convenient to work with. So you not need to go into each and every one of them just to make it automatic so it could embed to the drawing. Okay, so if I have this toggle on, so all of your schemes right here, when you make application to the drawing, it will be embedded to the drawing itself. So it's a centralized toggle. So I'm going to be playing this video just to show how it works. Okay, right now I'm going to be toggling this on. So this is a new scheme that I've created. So I'm going to make some changes to the drawing. Okay, changes this number. You can see how it embeds to the drawing as I apply. Now there's also something new here. If you have one or more drawing embedded scheme, and you have this hook icon in the Scheme Explorer, just to tell you, hey, you have one or more drawing that's already embedded to the drawing, one or more schemes embedded to the drawing. So this is an icon that we've added. Now, with all these new features, it's very important to make sure that the base functionality of Scheme still works for you. Now, following these test instructions by using your manufacturer extension schemes, if you have one, try applying through these 3 different methods: target, selection, or OR. Okay, you could try out with different scheme properties, presets to your manufacturer snapper, ensure it still works correctly. Then the next one is to ensure that new or existing custom schemes still can be saved and loaded on your end. Now, any new saves, it should follow the new naming suffix. Make sure there are no missing properties in the scheme dialog when using your manufacturer extension schemes. Okay, make sure all of your materials, your options, your features, they are still intact. Now, of course, you should also make sure embedding schemes to drawing still works. Now, this is entirely up to you. You could make use of the new features, or you could do it your way. Okay, next up, this is another new feature in CT 13.5. Okay, Denoiser. So we've added a new feature in PhotoLab. Okay, so what it does, it removes as much noise from your rendered photos. It is not exactly 100% removal, but it removes as much as possible. Now this is PhotoLab, all right? You can see that there'll be a new checkbox here, the noise. It is ticked by default, and it'll be applied after you have completed all your renderings. Okay, so this is how it looks like, the noise checkbox. Now for now, ticking the denoise checkbox when it is unticked. Okay, so when you untick it and you tick it back, it takes a good few seconds to respond. Now this is a known issue, and it'll be improved in the later updates of CT. Now it's also very important to make sure the noise works for your drawings. Okay, by using your manufacturer extension snappers with lighting, you make a simple drawing, fire up a PhotoLab, then you could make some more field renderings. Then after that's done, you assess the material accuracy with the denoise function tick and untick. Right? It's very important to make sure that the material shine and correctness, it is still as before, and it should not look as different when compared to the previous version of CT. You can also load in your old drawings, okay, which has the old renderings. You can also test the denoise option to see if it works for you. Now with this denoise feature, make sure there's no noticeable performance difference for rendering time. Again, with this, you could use response monitor in the QA2 license extension just to check the time taken between different versions of CT. And that will give you a better idea to see if it's faster or if it's noticeably slower. Now I'm going to give a comparison of what the noise looks like. Okay, so this is a sample rendered photo that I have right here. Now notice over here, you have a lot of noise. And this is how it looks like with the noise off. Or you could say this is how it looks like in the current versions of CET 13.0 and below. All right, you have a lot of noise over here. And with the noise on, and it removes most of the noise. I can't really see any noise right here, but pretty sure there still is if you zoom in a little more. But it does its job really well. It removes most of the noise that you've always wanted to remove, all right, especially for commercial interior customers. And I think this feature, it works really well on low light renderings. Okay, so that's the end of the new features. Next up, I'm going to be talking about performance. Now, performance plays a very important role that affects CT's usability experience. Okay, so as you upgrade to later versions of CT, we add more and more enhancements, and we take strict consideration in terms of performance. Now, with that said, we would want you to run through this basic checklist after you have migrated to CT 13.5. Now, this is a reminder for all of the manufacturers. Please turn off unused extensions. Okay, the extensions that you're not going to be using it, please switch it off so you get faster CT loading and startup. And you can also run a basic memory leak test using Task Manager. Okay, to open up Task Manager, you can use the shortcut key, Control, Shift, Escape. In the Processes tab, you look for ctdesigner.exe. Now, make sure the memory consumption is not maxed out as you're working on your drawings. All right, you can compare this between the old and new CET. Now, speaking of memory consumption, it is very subjective because it depends on the size of extensions that you're working on. Just have to make sure that it does not max out all of the available memory that you have. For example, you should not be seeing a constant 95 to 99% usage, because that's not going to only slow down CET, that's going to slow down your computer as well. Okay, so this is what a basic memory leak test is all about. Now again, you could also use response monitor. It's a really great tool for you to trace time taken in CT for all the actions that you do. You could do a comparison between the old and new CT version. So you know whether it's faster, if it's slower, or even if it's performing almost similar. These are some suggested areas that you could check. All right, check the time difference in this area. System startup time, first step replacement, continuous placement, stretching, just to make sure it's not smooth and not jerky. Make sure the feel of it is great. You can also try copy pasting your snappers, creating alternatives, safe load drawing, material application in the quick properties or animation properties. You can also try out by using your customer owned materials. And you can also try different applications using the scheme dialog if your manufacturer extension has schemes. Now, if you have any issues related to performance, please report to dev support at configura.com. And this is how it looks like. All right, this is a screenshot of response monitor. Okay, we pretty much come to an end of today's webinar for CT 13.5 testing focus areas. Now, if you have any questions related to testing, please send it to us at qasupport@configura.com. Now, aside from that, we also have migration workshops. It happens every Monday for 4 weeks. So let me bring out the schedule right here. So the next one will be next Monday, 3rd of October, and it will happen for 4 weeks straight on every Monday. Now, just to give you an idea of what migration workshops are, now it is held together with the developer side. If you have like questions related to questions for developers or questions for us related to testing, you could join in any of these migration workshops, then we could answer them for you. Now, for us, if we have any changes, latest changes in the QA testing guide, we will go through them as well in any of these migration workshop sessions. But you do get updates from developers too. And also the CT 13.5 QA testing guide has been completed. You can access it in the Configura's Help Center. Right, I'm just going to be showing real quick. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Get this out of the way. And if you go to Configura Academy CT Developer, this is where you can sign up for migration workshops. Okay, that's pretty much it. Are there any questions from anyone? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Now, if you don't really have questions on top of your head right now, you could ask us in any of the migration workshops. All right. We wish you all the best in your 30.5 migration journey. All right. We'll see you again in the migration workshops, or if not, the next testing webinar, CT 14.0. Okay, it's a wrap.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining the sessions. Okay, we'll see you again. Thank you.